Arsenal nil, PSG 1. Are we watching the next champions of Europe with that PSG side? Potentially, we might be. But I want to start off by talking about Arsenal because I thought today they were quite disappointing. They were a little bit flat. I expected a little bit more from them. But I think there are some mitigating circumstances. However, I don't think you can excuse that in the semi-finals of the Champions League. They were poor today. It was very, very disappointing, and it wasn't the side that turned up against Real Madrid. I think firstly we've got to talk about the players who are unavailable for Arsenal. I mean, it's literally the story of Arsenal season so far. The players who aren't on the pitch are more of a story than the players who are on it. First, got to talk about the midfield, the dynamics. I really didn't think it worked in that midfield. But also, you have to say to Mikel Arteta, what else is he meant to do? Jorginho's out injured. Thomas Partey, you look back at the yellow card he got against Real Madrid. It was so silly. It was so petulant. Why did he have to go and get that yellow card? I think it was literally just for arguing with the referee. Why did he do that? And the midfield ended up being Rice in that deep role in the six. It ended up being Mika Marino in the left side of it and Martin Odegaard on the right side of it. A midfield that hasn't played too often together this season, and it just did not work for me in this game against PSG. PSG's midfield of Ruiz, Vitinha, João Neves, they just completely dominated. They were able to get the foot on the ball. And I think a part of that was because Declan Rice was in the six, he wasn't in the eight. He wasn't able to gallop around the pitch, use his energy, and really press and cause havoc among their PSG midfield. He was sitting a lot deeper, and Marino and Odegaard just weren't able to get anywhere near their PSG midfield. And I think it was perfectly epitomized by PSG's first goal. 3 minutes in, you think to yourself, lads, let's just keep it tight, don't concede early on. But they did, and you have to say it was just really, really well worked by PSG. I mean, 28 or something passes leading up to the goal. Starting off really the attack from Mendes at left back, who's had a phenomenal season in Champions League so far. Passing it into Dembele into midfield, who was dropping deep at that moment. And because he was dropping deep and the Arsenal side having this new outfit midfield, they weren't really sure who to pick up where and it was so early on that the men that Dembele was able to pick the ball in space, control it, turn, drive at the heart of that Arsenal defence, and then pass it out to Kvaratskhelia, who was staying very high and wide, and as was Desiree doing on the other side, really stretching that Arsenal back line. Then Kvaratskhelia was able to run at Timber, and before he even got one-on-one, he's able to pass the ball back to Dembele for a 1-2, and then it was a scuffed finish, but it got in the right exact corner it needed to, off the post and in. It's the worst possible start for Arsenal at that moment in time. Everything you say, your whole game plan, Arteta was saying, it's all gone out the window at that point. And a couple of things, like I said, in the midfield, but also Mika Marino. I had this issue with Manchester United and Lyon in the second leg in their Europa League clash, where though several times midfielders were just getting back into position, but filling the space rather than marking the man. The space is not going to score a goal, the man is. And if you look at that Arsenal defenders in that situation for the goal, I just think that a couple of them could maybe have moved out of position and gone to track Dembele, the key man, the star man, the one who's going to be, one of the favourites for the Ballon d'Or this season because of the season he is having in the second half of this year. He's absolutely phenomenal. But you have to mark him because he's a danger man. And all of a sudden, you think about semi-finals and it might be a bit tense, and it's fine margins. It really is. And off the post and in. And yeah, like I said, the worst possible start. But PSG are absolutely over the moon with that. But after that, you probably expect a bit of an Arsenal response, but that didn't really happen either. I think the next 20 or so minutes after that, Arsenal were really being dominated by PSG. They were just passing it around. And again, I think Declan Rice has to be in one of those advanced midfield 8 positions because his ability to win the ball back and then drive forward with it and create danger from it, those situations. I think he's so unparalleled in his ability to do that and do it so well. We saw it against Madrid that he has to be further up, and he definitely will be in the second leg because Thomas Partey will come back into that side, no doubt about that. But I just think they really struggled to get the ball at PSG. PSG were controlling it. But the last 15 minutes of the first half did give me a little bit of hope that maybe Arsenal could get back themselves into it. They're being a bit more physical, using their aerial dominance, which we know that was going to be PSG's weakness. Conceded a lot of goals from set pieces so far this season, around 30% in Liga. So that was how Arsenal were going to get back into it. Halftime arguably came at the worst time possible. But you go into that second half and you think, oh, maybe Arsenal can do something from here. But apart from that offside goal really early on in that second half, I don't really think Arsenal put PSG under too much pressure. I think it was all too comfortable for PSG. I mean, Dembele came off injured. Did Arsenal seize on the opportunity and capitalise on that? No, they really didn't. And when we talk about maybe the best player on the pitch for Arsenal today, I think maybe Saka was really, really bright. I thought that anytime he got the ball, you could feel the crowd getting up on their seats. They knew that if someone's going to do something and create a moment of magic, it's going to be Bukayo Saka. But he was just so well marked by Nuno Mendes, who is just, like I said, in terms of the attack for the goal, he is also defensively just a very, very good fullback. Arguably, in my opinion, the best left back this season in the world because of just the performance he's put in such big matches. But yeah, I just think Saka needed more help, and I think especially with the injury, him coming back recently, is he fully fit? Can he really go past a player and accelerate with his full power and full force? I think he's struggling just a little bit, but I think he's doing it so far on adrenaline, and I think he needs a little bit of help. And so I guess a question mark starts to come around Martin Odegaard and his contribution to the side. Again, another player who's been out injured earlier on this season, and he got very rushed back. I remember that game, his first game back against Chelsea in the Premier League. He's played, I think, the whole 90 pretty much, after only maybe just a small cameo appearance against Inter Milan away in the Champions League the midweek before. But I thought to myself, well, so since he's come back, and in this game especially, he doesn't really do a lot. He's not contributing at the moment. He's in really bad form. Maybe the injury is also having an impact. Maybe he's not fully recovered. If it comes out at the end of the season that he was playing with a bit of a knock, I wouldn't be surprised. Defensively, he works really hard. He's really important for the side. He sets the press. He sets the tempo. But on the ball, he's hiding a little bit, I think, in my opinion. And I think sometimes he's making the pass to a player, but he's not then making a run. Or if he's trying to make himself available for an option, he's really not doing it in space that a player can look at him and go, okay, I'm going to pass you the ball, because he's going to be under pressure immediately, Martin Odegaard. So I think he's hiding a little bit, but he is still trying. But I do think to myself, maybe around Ethan Waneri, and yeah, he's only 18 years old, but I'm seeing what Mars Lewis Skelly is doing at left back, who in my opinion was Arsenal's best player today. The fact that he was getting the ball again, coming into midfield from left back, inverting, and then picking up the ball, picking up a pass, and then driving through as well. I mean, what a phenomenal talent at 18 years of age. But he needs a little bit of help, because he was doing his part in the progression and in the Arsenal's deeper half of the pitch. But going forward, he needed players like Odegaard, Saka, Trossard to really do something, and they weren't quite able to do it. And at 18 years old, I mean, Maslow Skelly is doing phenomenally as it is, so he can't be expected to do literally everything. So I've got no problems with him. I thought he was the best player on the pitch today. In terms of Trossard up front, it's a difficult one, because Trossard is very, very, very good coming off the bench, and he's definitely a valuable player to have in and around the Arsenal team. But starting in this game, he really didn't look like he was comfortable there. He didn't really look comfortable against McKennie or Sampaio. I mean, he had the one chance, which ironically came from Declan Rice pressing the ball, driving forward. He released Trossard on the left-hand side, and Donnarumma with a fantastic save. I mean, he made a few saves. I think he was absolutely phenomenal. Arguably goalkeeper of the competition so far. He made another one from Martinelli in the first half, which, if we're talking about quality and needing to finish your chances, Martinelli arguably has to finish that chance against Donnarumma. It's then 1-1. You go into halftime 1-1 and you go, okay, lads, come on. This wasn't our first half, but let's make the second half ours. And they just weren't able to stamp their authority on the game. But if we look to this PSG side, and yeah, like I said at the beginning, are we potentially looking at the next champions of Europe? Even coming into this game, I was thinking to myself, do you know what? Arsenal, the way they performed against Real Madrid, yeah, do you know what? I think Arsenal, the perfect opponent for PSG. And PSG just shut us all up, didn't they? 3 minutes for the goal. Didn't look like they were out of control of the game at any moment in time, and absolutely dominated at the Emirates. Now that we're going to the Parc des Princes, can Arsenal do it? I remember watching that second half against Aston Villa in the quarterfinals and thinking to myself, oh, Aston Villa could get something from here. I mean, they beat them in that second leg. But I think away from home, that's something a little bit more different. Yes, they'll have Thomas Partey back. Yes, Marino will be their number 9. What do Arsenal do on the weekend against Bournemouth? I'm not really sure, to be honest. I think it's a difficult one, and I think it's a lose-lose for Arteta either way, if I'm being honest. But yeah, I think it's not a bad result, despite the fact that Arsenal lost, because it was only 1-0. Do I see Arsenal winning? Yeah, I can see them winning the second leg. Taking it to penalties? Yeah. I'm just not sure. And I think more than anything else, that was deflating mentally. I think that would have been a real hammer blow mentally to those Arsenal players, because I think they did try, but they were just beaten by the much better side today. So I think that's probably going to be Arsenal out, but stranger things have happened in football. And if Arsenal were to turn it around, I'll be overjoyed with that, because that means we're in for a cracker of a second game. So yeah, that's my thoughts. If you like the video, give it a like. If you want to see my reaction to the second leg, make sure you subscribe. Also subscribe, because I'm going to be reacting to the Inter Milan Barcelona game tomorrow night as well. So if you want to subscribe and see more Champions League content as well as Premier League, make sure you stay tuned to the channel for more uploads.